Hello everyone. Today we are going to read the third and last part of our chapter 8, The Making of the National Movement, 1870s to 1947. The March to Dandi. Purna Swaraj would never come on its own. It had to be fought for. In 1930, Gandhiji declared that he would lead a march to break the salt law. According to this law, the state had a monopoly on the manufacture and sale of salt. Mahatma Gandhi, along with other nationalists, reasoned that it was sinful to tax salt since it is such an essential item of our food. The Salt March related the general desire of freedom to a specific grievance shared by everybody and thus did not divide the rich and the poor. Gandhiji and his followers marched for over 240 miles from Sabarmati to the coastal town of Dandi, where they broke the government law by gathering natural salt found on the seashore and boiling sea water to produce salt. Women in the freedom struggle. Ambabai from Karnataka. Women from diverse backgrounds participated in the national movement. Young and old, single and married, they came from rural and urban areas from both conservative and liberal homes. Their involvement was significant for the freedom struggle, for the women's movement, and for themselves personally. Both British officials and Indian nationalists felt that women's participation gave the national struggle an immense force. Participation in the freedom movement brought women out of their homes. It gave them a place in the professions, in the governance of India, and it could pave the way for equality with men. What such participation meant for women is best recounted by them. Ambabai of Karnataka had been married at age 12, widowed at 16. She picketed foreign cloth and liquor shops in Udupi. She was arrested, served a sentence, and was rearrested. Between prison terms, she made speeches, taught spinning, and organized Prabhat fairies. Ambabai regarded these as the happiest days of her life because they gave it a new purpose and commitment. Women, however, had to fight for their right to participate in the movement. During the Salt Satyagraha, for instance, even Mahatma Gandhi was initially opposed to women's participation. Sarojini Naidu had to persuade him to allow women to join the movement. Peasants, tribals, and women participated in large numbers. A business federation published a pamphlet on the salt issue. The government tried to crush the movement through brutal action against peaceful satyagrahis. Thousands were sent to jail. The combined struggles of the Indian people bore fruit when the Government of India Act of 1835 prescribed provincial autonomy and the government announced elections to the provincial legislatures in 1937. The Congress formed governments in 7 out of 11 provinces. In September 1939, after 2 years of Congress rule in the provinces, the Second World War broke out. Critical of Hitler, Congress leaders were ready to support the British war effort, but in return they wanted that India be granted independence after the war. The British refused to concede the demand. The Congress ministries resigned in protest. Veer Lakhan Nayak was hanged. Baji Muhammad, president of the Nabrangpur Congress, Odisha in the 1930s, reports on August 25, 1942, 19 people died on the spot in police firing at Paparandi in Nabrangpur. Many died thereafter from their wounds. Over 300 were injured. More than 1,000 were jailed in Koraput district. Several were shot or executed. Veer Lakhan Nayak, a legendary tribal leader who defied the British, was hanged. Nayak, Baji tells us, was not worried about being executed, only said that he would not live to see freedom's dawn. Baji Muhammad mobilized 20,000 people to join the national struggle. He offered satyagraha many times over. He participated in protest against the Second World War and in the Quit India movement and served long jail terms. Bose and the INA. A radical nationalist with socialist leanings, Bose did not share Gandhiji's ideal of ahimsa, though he respected him as the father of the nation. In January 1941, he secretly left his Calcutta home, went to Singapore via Germany, and raised the Azad Hind Fauj, or the Indian National Army (INA). To free India from British control in 1944, the INA tried to enter India through Imphal and Kohima, but the campaign failed. The INA members were imprisoned and tried. People across the country from all walks of life participated in the movement against the INA trials. Quit India and later. Mahatma Gandhi decided to initiate a new phase of movement against the British in the middle of the Second World War. The British must quit India immediately, he told them. To the people, he said, do or die in your effort to fight the British, but you must fight non-violently. Gandhiji and other leaders were jailed at once, but the movement spread. It especially attracted peasants and the youth who gave up their studies to join it. Communications and symbols of state authority were attacked all over the country. In many areas, the people set up their own governments. The first response to the British was severe repression. By the end of 1943, over 90,000 people were arrested and around 1,000 killed in police firing. In many areas, orders were given to machine gun crowds from airplanes. The rebellion, however, ultimately brought the Raj to its knees towards independence and partition. Meanwhile, in 1940, the Muslim League had moved a resolution demanding independent states for Muslims in the northwestern and eastern areas of the country. The resolution did not mention partition or Pakistan. Why did the League ask for an autonomous arrangement for the Muslims of the subcontinent? From the late 1930s, the League began viewing the Muslims as a separate nation from the Hindus. In developing this notion, it may have been influenced by the history of tension between some Hindu and Muslim groups in the 1920s and 1930s. More importantly, the provincial elections of 1937 seem to have convinced the League that Muslims were a minority and they would always have to play second fiddle in any democratic structure. It feared that Muslims may even go unrepresented. The Congress' rejection of the League's desire to form a joint Congress League government in the United Provinces in 1937 also annoyed the League. The Congress's failure to mobilize the Muslim masses in the 1930s allowed the League to widen its social support. It sought to enlarge its support in the early 1940s when most Congress leaders were in jail. At the end of the war in 1945, the British opened negotiations between the Congress, the League, and themselves for the independence of India. The talks failed because the League saw itself as the sole spokesperson of India's Muslims. The Congress could not accept this claim since a large number of Muslims still supported it. Elections to the provinces were again held in 1946. The Congress did well in the general constituencies, but the League's success in the seats reserved for Muslims was spectacular. It persisted with its demand for Pakistan. In March 1946, the British cabinet sent a three-member mission to Delhi to examine this demand and to suggest a suitable political framework for a free India. This mission suggested that India should remain united and constitute itself as a loose confederation with some autonomy for Muslim majority areas. But it could not get the Congress and the Muslim League to agree to specific details of the proposal. Partition now became more or less inevitable. After the failure of the cabinet mission, the Muslim League decided on mass agitation for winning its Pakistan demand. It announced 16 August 1946 as Direct Action Day. On this day, riots broke out in Calcutta, lasting several days and resulting in the death of thousands of people. By March 1947, violence spread to different parts of northern India. Many 100,000 people were killed and numerous women had to face untold brutalities during the partition. Millions of people were forced to flee their homes. Torn asunder from their homelands, they were reduced to being refugees in alien lands. Partition also meant that India changed, many of its cities changed, and a new country, Pakistan, was born. So the joy of our country's independence from British rule came mixed with the pain and violence of partition. This figure shows Maulana Azad with other members at the Congress Working Committee Sevagram 1942. Azad was born in Makkah to a Bengali father and an Arab mother. Well versed in many languages, Azad was a scholar of Islam and an exponent of the notion of Wahadat-i-Din, the essential oneness of all religions. An active participant in Gandhian movement and a staunch advocate of Hindu-Muslim unity, he was opposed to Jinnah's two-nation theory. In this picture, Chakrabarti Rajagopalachari speaking to Gandhiji before the Gandhi Jinnah talks 1944. a veteran nationalist and leader of the salt satyagraha in the south. C. Rajagopalachari, popularly known as Rajaji, served as member of the interim government of 1946 and as Free India's first Indian Governor General. This picture shows Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel. Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel played an important role in the negotiations for independence during 1945 to 47. Patel hailed from an impoverished peasant proprietor family of Nadiad, Gujarat. A foremost organizer of the freedom movement from 1918 onwards, Patel served as president of the Congress in 1931. This figure shows Muhammad Ali Jinnah with Mahatma Gandhi, Bombay, September 1944. An ambassador of Hindu-Muslim unity until 1920, Jinnah played an important role in the making of the Lucknow Pact. He reorganized the Muslim League after 1934 and became the major spokesperson for the demand for Pakistan. So this was the reading of the last part of our chapter 8, The Making of the National Movement, 1870s to 1947. If you have any doubt or query, you can ask me in the comment section below. Also, you can find links to other parts of this chapter and other chapters in the description box below. Thank you everyone.